Okay, I'm gonna really try to make this a short video. I say that every single time, but it never seems to happen. So that you would not have to endure another nightstand, because I think that we all know that you're probably all very tired of nightstands. See, there's a nightstand. I'm going to put it over there. I was thinking about, I really like the rocker, the Nandor Honti rocker that I did some modifications on, and I was thinking about that piece. And decided I think I wanted to try out a armchair of some sort, something that would be going in a bedroom, and I wanted to keep it pretty simple. This is the original design and the original template that I created, and it's created for, I think I did this in 3 pieces. The back piece that wraps all the way around, that's the sides, then a kind of a rectangular prism piece that is then glued in between, and then a frontis piece that you can see here. There are some little tabs on. I made this one out of the paper that I glued together. So this is the heavyweight paper that I use, but I glued it together. I make it in like little, I don't want to say batches, but I'll make like 4 or 5 pieces at a time as I need them, because I'm working pretty small. And there were some things about this that I liked, and a lot of things that I didn't. The first thing I didn't like is it's too vertical. And by too vertical, I mean this is not a comfortable chair to sit in. So there needed to be some changes here. And I didn't like how, because this is too narrow, I didn't like that I had to change this circular piece here, because I really wanted a curve up here and a curve here. And I wanted all of these to match, and this being too narrow and too vertical meant that I was going to need to change some things around. So I went through this morning, and this is the pasted together, like just pasted together, and you can see it's a little crooked, version, in which you can see here I'm using the same size. I've changed around the construction of it though. This now has a separate back piece. Let's see, I did some tracings. And when I say tracings, I mean that I basically just take this piece that I glued together and I traced it out first. I photographed it before cutting it, and then trace it after cutting it, and then I just put in all the marks here. So you can see here the 2 side pieces in the middle are now together, with a tab that will glue the seat piece down. And that's fine. This is the separate back piece. This is the point in which there is a slight, I mean, when I say slight, I mean I think it's a 3 millimeter difference from this point to this point up here. And I also separated the side curve from the top curve. I could have lowered it, but for right now I kind of like it being a little taller. Now when it comes to the seat, let's see, this is the original the original seat. I didn't cut, this is from a tracing, and I just wanted to get all of the numbers down. This original seat, because I had designed this for, this is I think 4 by 5 by 4 with about almost 1.5 deep centimeters. And because of that, I needed to make it smaller, so it's really 4.9. It was really 4.9 by 4.9, yeah, by 4.4 in this original. But in increasing it and then adding a curve, or not a curve, a slight angle, this seat here, it only changes about 1 millimeter up here, up to this point. It's 3 millimeters by here, but about 1 millimeter maybe even a little less. So you know it's probably about halfway here. And what I forgot to do was when I was drawing this in, I forgot to put the angle in on the side. So if this is the side portion, let's flip this to a top down, I would take my pencil and this would move in, meaning this line here needs to move in and come down so it fits in better. This would remain straight, this front edge would remain straight, but this would need to be 1 millimeter in. This whole end piece would be 1 millimeter in, and I forgot to do that, which is kind of a dumb mistake, but it's an easy one to rectify, knowing that I've got tracings from the original piece that I can add in. Now what I'd like to add to this as well is an ottoman, which I have some sketches for. she says cautiously. Let's see. I'll raise this up a little, raise that down so I can actually see what I'm doing. I think. Oh wow, more nightstands. Yeah. I was doing some research last night, and I came across an old Workbench magazine, which I gotta say, Workbench magazine, you rock. Or at least you rocked for about 4.5 years. This was an idea that I pulled from there. This is actually supposed to be kind of like a little chest, but it's also an ottoman. It's got like little hand holds on it, and then this piece can come up. But because the thing that I remember the most about it was these little curves in here. So I'm going to use this, and then this will be reminiscent of the curve that goes around the top. Now, one of the things that got me thinking about these curved chairs, and I still want to do something like this. This looks more like a wicker chair kind of thing. I still want to do this. I just need to sit down and think a little bit more, and get the angles and everything correct. This was inspired by what I was researching, which was actually not Workbench magazine, but was De Stijl. And for those who don't know, De Stijl was an arts movement. It was from the Netherlands, and it was I think by 33, the First World War, everything just kind of ground to, or Second World War, everything kind of ground to a halt. And I discovered some work by a Danish artist who was working in De Stijl, which just means the style. But he was making toys, and they're really, really interesting. I'll put some links in there, because there's no way I'm pronouncing his name right, and I won't even attempt it. I don't want to embarrass myself. So this piece right here was partially inspired. The De Stijl stuff is, oh, I gotta get me a pen. De Stijl is much more geometric, and very angled. So a chair might look something like this instead. So you can see that there's very firmly sides to it. And when you stick it up next to Bauhaus, which is so much more metal, there's a huge contrast. And for those of you wondering about, if there are any artists that you might know of that are in De Stijl, one of my absolute favorite artists, Kurt Schwitters, was working in De Stijl, and Piet Mondrian. Think black and white and red and yellow and blue, and then you know who I'm talking about. Again, I'm gonna put links. So that is kind of where I am right now, and you can see how this is so not De Stijl. This is far more influenced by a Morris lounger and wicker furniture, and a couple of pieces that I saw that were chairs designed by Swedes in the it was spanning anywhere from like the late 1700s all the way up to the early 1900s and beyond. But it was specifically, I was drawn to a couple of shapes that were very Swedish. So yeah, that's where I am right now. And you don't have to endure another nightstand. So I will see you all in the next video. Thank you, patrons, for sticking with me even when I'm an absolute mess. And I'll see you in the next video.